Hi, Dr. Ben Newman. Yeah, we don't need an intro for this one. This question is from Lisa. Hi, Nick and Ben. What's the latest COVID research going on? Is there more or less going on now, or has that peaked? Oh my gosh, there's so much more going on. So I looked at your question and I thought, okay, how many papers? And so I went to the preprint server, which you can go to as well if you like. It's called bioRxiv. That's BIORX, the Greek letter chi, IV. Um, and you can look on there. And it shows you the date that things were posted. So far today, the new postings are 94 or 96 articles. Shoot, I had it. Yeah, I've lost it. I think it's 94. New articles. The day is not over. There's still a couple of good hours for article posting. So I bet we get over 100. Fridays tend to be big days. Sometimes Wednesdays they'll start the press for papers that they think are going to be big. But there's actually a pretty good. Fridays maybe twice the load of one of the other days of the week. So minimum, you're talking about like 50 papers a day. Yeah. At the start, it was one paper a day. Yeah. Sometimes zero papers. Sometimes two. Yeah. Wow. So what's going on? Yeah, like more than any of us can comprehend. Let's go down these 10. So these are papers 91 through 100, most recently dropped on the preprint server. And these are all things that will be published shortly. There are a lot of papers that get published without ever going on the preprint servers. So what we've got here is, I don't know, maybe half, maybe a third of the actual total of what I would consider good papers, that are going to respectable journals. And then there's a lot of junk science that gets published in these pay-for-play journals, and just politely ignore those because there's usually nothing going on there. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. What's new here? Let me move my windows around so I can see. All right. Article 1. Healthcare workers in elderly care. Are they spreading SARS? Or like a silent source for SARS transmission? Heck yeah, because the elderly aren't breaking themselves out of their care home to, go live it up in the bar, mostly. Yeah. So, yeah, that's got to be where it's coming in from. Either catering or care, but care is around so much more. So that totally makes sense. Fine. Next one is a Spanish study that shows that hydroxychloroquine and its various derivatives did not work on chronically ill patients. So it's another nice big study. And fine, it shows what the other recent studies show, that hydroxychloroquine is not it. Yeah. Next one, COVID-19. Is it going to be transmitted in the university? Modeling study. Yes, it is. Yeah, it already is, and it's happening. And so they're using those first couple of weeks of school's worth of data to kind of model and figure out, how fast is this going to go? Where might it level off if we do certain things differently? What do we have to do? So this is the what if squad getting out in front of the data, and that's good. That's where you want to be. Yeah, when you're modeling, because I don't know, it's okay to model the past, but we call that history. Yeah, and ideally, you want to know what's going to happen so that you can either avoid it or prepare for it. And that's the idea. Okay, next one. Is artificial intelligence, does it have a role in medical imaging of COVID-19? Maybe, but I don't know. That would be a tough sell. I haven't read that one, and I probably won't. Yeah. Structural characterization of the I protein of SARS-CoV-2. This is one we've had a structure for from original SARS, and so somebody solved the nearly identical but slightly different version from SARS-2. Good for them. It's a weird little protein. It binds lipids. It's located inside of another gene. It's like a different way that you can read a gene, and you can get two or maybe even three different, totally distinct products out of it. Kind of neat, yeah. And good for them, yeah. It's not anybody that I know, but it takes a lot of money and skill to be able to do that. So if they've done an actual job, then it's probably going to be pretty good. Next paper I think is interesting, and I'm probably going to be bringing this one up. So it says that most bat species are not potential hosts for SARS or SARS-2, and it's looking at ACE2 receptor usage. So it's looking at the actual proteins from lots of different bats to try and figure out which bats could be carrying viruses like this. And yeah, that is going to be a really good read. I'm going to sit down tonight and go through that one. So I think that's, bookmark it. Okay, next one. Let's see, interaction of the receptor bound to, on membrane bound. Okay, so the interaction of the receptor on the actual spike protein, but stuck to a membrane like it would be in the virus. Most people do their interaction studies with just the cut off top of the spike protein. Those are my little scissors there, cutting it off. Here's the spike protein, which is floating free. That can do some poses that spike protein would not be able to do if it's stuck on an actual membrane. So yeah, this is being careful. It's probably going to be pretty close to what we thought from the other ones, but yeah, I'm always a fan of being careful. All right, next one. We're doing all 10. Yeah. Antibody binding to SARS glycoprotein, so the spike, correlates with but doesn't predict neutralization. Yeah, neutralizing antibodies are a weird thing, and there have been a couple of really good papers about this, looking at total amount of antibodies, so that number goes up over time, and then looking at the number of those antibodies, or the percentage of them, that are able to actually stop the virus from getting in, as opposed to just sticking to the virus and kind of decorating it like Christmas. Yeah. And as they correctly say, it's kind of a random process. And so, no, there's not necessarily a strong correlation. There's a rough correlation, but just because you have high levels of one antibody doesn't mean that you will have high levels of neutralizing antibody. So yeah, that's good. I'm going to read that one, have a look at it as well. And the last one, oh my gosh, a prefusion SARS coronavirus 2 spike RNA vaccine. So right here, they're expressing the entire spike gene, just like Moderna did, just like Inovio are trying to do, just like, so many other ones. Yeah, basically all the leading vaccine efforts. So yeah, because you can't express the post-fusion version of it. You can only get there from the pre-fusion version by going through the fusion process. Yeah. See how that works? Yeah. Great. But whatever. Apparently that's a selling point. My prediction is that that part may get reworked as it's going from the preprint to the actual publication. Yeah. Again, I have not reviewed any of these papers as a professional reviewer. But if I was, that would be one of the things I would say about this one. But they're saying it's highly immunogenic, which means they got antibodies and maybe T cells. We'd have to dig into probably the supplemental material to find out. And it prevents lung infection in non-human primates. So they actually got enough money to do monkey studies. And good for them. And you can tell it's a well-funded group because it's got about 30 authors on there. So yeah, got to justify every single person's salary. Come on, get them justified. So there, yeah. And so it's like that. Every single one of these pages of 10 things is going to be full of that. So imagine 10 of those for a day, and then imagine that every day of the week. And there are things that I know I am missing that fall through the cracks. And I pick them up when somebody else talks about them or asks about them. So if you see anything new or interesting in science, there is a chance that I missed it. And by all means, bring it up. If it's something that interests you, or that, like, a newspaper is quoting something that seems to be new and a little bit interesting, let me know. Because that's a good way to kind of weed through all of these papers. They're mostly, by the look of them, good papers. It's just that there's a lot. There's really, really a lot. All right. So that's enough for this Friday edition. Thanks very much. This has been Ask Dr. Ben.